In the Great Migration, the Maasai Mara is not the final stop for 1.5 million wildebeest. After crossing the river one more time, countless predators lie in wait. But there's no other choice. Welcome to Back to Serengeti, the wildebeest's most brutal migration. In August, the wildebeest herd stands before the Mara River. The rains have led them here, tempting them to cross in search of even greener pastures. The grand feast of the Nile crocodile on the Mara River comes only once or twice a year. They can sense it. Predators gather where the antelope herd congregates, but they are in no rush. When panic erupts, the river turns into a trap waiting to spring. The Mara River, stretching 395 kilometers, is considered the lifeline of the Serengeti Mara ecosystem. Originating in Kenya, this uninterrupted flow nourishes the lush vegetation that thrives around it. But it is also known as the River of No Return. Its swift currents and high density of Nile crocodiles mean those on this journey may be left behind at any moment. The wildebeest have not forgotten the river crossing at Ngorongoro nearly 2 months ago. Suddenly, they hesitate. In another stretch of the Mara River, a herd of African elephants is doing just this. The water is rushing fast, and among them are young ones who have never crossed a river before. And their mother seems just as inexperienced. Tiny trunks flail in confusion, and the current sweeps one little calf away from its mother in just a few seconds. The flow is so strong that even the mothers must focus on saving themselves. Once the adults reach the riverbank, the young warriors pull off the unexpected. Just one more step to go. Their mother's strong trunk does little to help. With all the determination they can muster, the two young warriors make it. The lush green grass lies only a few steps ahead. Back to the wildebeest herd. They are still deep in thought. One steps forward, others follow. If there's no way straight through, take the long way around. The faster one wins. After a stretch of river seems calm again, another group tries their luck. This time looks a bit better. They just need to stay one step ahead of the crocodile's reaction. Still, one is less fortunate. He made it easier for his teammates to make it across. Now it's the game of the stubborn ones. The wildebeest have won this round. But not every stretch of river is so quiet. The more wildebeest there are, the more intense the Nile crocodile becomes. This crossing is no easy feat. Both the descent and the climb are steep and high. But this time, they move as a crowd. Oddly enough, it seems less effective than moving in smaller groups. Let's give it another go. This time, don't let the Nile crocodile startle you. Step right over it. What a sight to behold. In spots where the river runs deep up to their heads, the wildebeest choose a narrower path. This unintentionally turns the river into the culprit behind their downfall. And the crocodiles? They're seizing the moment. A frenzy unfolds. The zebras are not spared from fate either. They see it. And here as well. Like the wildebeest, zebras can't deny their instincts. The stretch of river they've chosen, unfortunately, holds more than just crocodiles. Hippopotamuses are also part of the Mara River, but they understand the zebras are not here to claim their waters. What must happen will happen. One panicked and ran, another got stuck. Don't lose your tail. Nice going. A few unlucky ones caught the predator's attention. Young ones are usually kept safely in the middle. But near the end of the crossing, even their parents struggle to protect themselves. The wildebeest have already gone ahead. Their frenzied hooves trampled mud, rocks, and even the silent snouts hidden beneath the surface. Snouts lined with over 60 conical razor-sharp teeth, forever hungry, belonging to the Nile crocodile. From October through December, rains from the Mau highlands swell the river, making the flow wild and raging. A few hundred plains zebras are standing at the river's edge. Instinct urges them forward, but their survivor's intuition warns that something waits beneath the muddy veil. Don't be fooled by their sluggish appearance. Though their brains are no larger than a walnut, they know exactly where the traditional crossing points are, where herds are forced to gather, and they've been waiting there for months. But crossing is not a choice, it's a necessity. Behind them lies a grueling journey that has lasted for weeks. Ahead is the only place they can survive and give birth to the next generation. Unlike wildebeest, zebras don't wait for a single brave soul to lead. They cross together as a herd. The adults go first or flank the sides, while the young and vulnerable stay protected in the center. It's instinct, but it's also the best defense. And so the hooves begin to plunge into the perilous water. Zebras aren't the strongest swimmers, but they have a unique edge. Powerful chest muscles, long legs, and the ability to keep their heads above water. Beneath the surface, Nile crocodiles are already in position. On their snouts are hundreds of ultra-sensitive sensory pits, called integumentary sensory organs, designed to detect the tiniest vibration. When they hear the first splashes, feel the first tremors from the approaching herd, their hunting instinct switches on. Though they typically hunt alone, when opportunity strikes, they strike together. One grabs holds, another ends it with a death roll. Not all zebra fall mid-river. Some make it close to the bank, but the slope is steep and slick, and they struggle to climb. A sudden bite to the neck or face from behind can bring all efforts to an end. The crocodiles, some twice, even 3 times their size, never pass up that final chance. A vicious twist that breaks bones, tears flesh, and silences cries beneath frothing water. When a zebra falls beneath a crocodile's jaws, it's not just an end, it's the beginning of another chain of life. The remains drift downstream, feeding crocodiles, vultures, catfish, even the land and water itself. The river keeps nothing. It gives and renews. The final wildebeest. The climb is steep. It's hard to reach the riverbank. A hippopotamus is keeping an eye on it. The antelope should be grateful that hippos are not meat eaters. Making it to the other side doesn't mean they're safe. The lion pride knows the route of the Great Migration by heart. No map or tracking needed. Thousand wildebeest are lost with every river crossing. The Nile crocodiles are sharing the feast. The funeral birds and scavengers will not miss the feast either. Ahead, the Maasai Mara grasslands open wide, gentle, green, and strangely silent. The wind carries the scent of damp earth and the fresh aroma of new grass just sprouting after the rain. From July through October, Mara holds on to its soft shades of green thanks to light but steady rains, just enough to keep the vegetation alive. The wildebeest no longer have to battle for each blade of grass under constant pressure. Zebras and topies spread out across the land, not competing, just quietly sharing this fragile peace. But even in these open plains, shadows still linger. After the life or death river crossing, a few have truly run out of strength. This creates a chance for the predator. It needs to double-check if this meal, dropped straight from the sky, is real. Then it calls the whole clan over. The ruckus of the hyena pack draws the curiosity of a lioness. The hyenas begin to scramble. They're not in the mood to share. But that's all right. Lionesses are among the finest warriors. They can hunt for themselves, especially now that millions of prey have just arrived. They are the main hunting force, even more skilled than the male lions. Unless it's time to fend off intruders, her mate acts more like someone who always shows up just in time for dinner. Fueled by fresh green grass, the zebras are bursting with energy. Muscular, full of life. A real challenge for the lioness. A bite to the throat to block the breath. The lioness's bite force is as powerful as the braking system of a full-size SUV. These ladies are still getting the job done, as always. Her sisters show up moments later, just in case some hyenas are thinking about making a move. As the sun softens its glare, a pack of African wild dogs, the most efficient hunters of the savanna, stands ready for the chase. No hiding, no sudden ambush. Their strategy relies on endurance, speed, and an unshakable sense of teamwork. Leading the way is a fully grown individual, its large, rounded ears standing tall like biological antennas, not only capturing even the faintest sounds from distant prey, but also serving as natural radiators to release heat under the scorching sun. Behind it, the rest of the pack, more than 10 individuals, move in sync, each with long legs and lean bodies built for acceleration, and the stamina to sustain speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. The African wild dogs close in bit by bit, taking turns at the front to maintain pace and gradually push their unfortunate target into a state of disarray. Fleeing is instinct for the prey, but endurance is the specialty of the wild dog. Each time the target tries to surge ahead, another wild dog charges forward to take the lead, like a fierce relay race among wild athletes. At last, when the prey's strength is spent, it stumbles, then collapses. The pack rushes in, feeding quickly and efficiently before hyenas or lions can catch wind of the feast. With their bellies full, the adult wild dogs return to the den, where they regurgitate partially digested food to nourish the pups and those injured or unable to join the hunt. A rare glimpse of selflessness in the wild, as if, within the harshness of nature, there's still a trace of compassion that lingers. However, this species is facing a number of serious challenges. According to the latest estimates, only around 6,000 African wild dogs remain in the wild, with approximately 1,400 of them being fully grown individuals. The main threats include habitat loss and fragmentation, conflicts with humans due to livestock hunting, road accidents, and infectious diseases such as rabies. The African wild dog plays a vital role in the ecosystem, helping to regulate herbivore populations and maintain ecological balance. Their existence is a testament to the complexity and delicate harmony of the African wilderness, where every species has its place and purpose within the vast web of life. Which do you think has a more fascinating social structure? A lion's pride or a wild dog's pack? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. As the sun sinks behind the treetops, the leopard begins to move, slipping between ancient trunks like a shapeless spirit. It is a solitary hunter. Its coat, patterned with rosettes, acts as perfect camouflage, allowing it to vanish into the dappled sunlight filtering through the forest. Every forest patch, every hillside, is a piece of its territory, clearly marked with claw marks on tree bark and a scent that is unmistakably its own. It had been watching the herd of antelope for hours, hidden in the shadows, completely still, as if it had melted into the dark bark of the trees. The leopard's eyes glow in the dark, powered by night vision 6 times sharper than that of a human. Every movement is measured with precision, silent, traceless, and deliberate. Suddenly, a powerful sideways leap, stretching nearly 6 meters, brings it right behind a lone antelope that had strayed from the herd. Before the prey can even turn its head, the pounce lands cleanly. The hardest part of the hunt is over, swift and seamless. The leopard never prolongs the struggle. It acts with speed, efficiency, and precision. But even with the prey in its grasp, the leopard's work is far from over. Soon after, it calls on every ounce of muscle and agility to drag the carcass up into the high branches of a tree. This is its aerial stronghold, beyond the reach of any hyena, and far above where a lion might bother to climb. The leopard embodies a quiet, commanding beauty, as if it were crafted by the hands of a divine artist, blending the grace of a dancer with the resolve of a silent warrior. The life of a leopard begins in silence. After a pregnancy lasting about 90 to 105 days, the female gives birth to 1 to 3 cubs in a secluded den, tucked within a rocky crevice, tree base, or dense thicket. They are born blind, fragile, and completely dependent on their mother. To protect them, she moves them often from one hidden spot to another, avoiding the attention of other predators. It takes nearly 2 years before the young are ready to leave her side. carrying with them their first lessons on survival in a world where even the shadows hold hunters. At Nyika National Park, the presence of the leopard plays a pivotal role in the ecosystem. They help regulate populations of herbivores like the common duiker, reedbuck, and bushbuck, maintaining a delicate balance between vegetation and wildlife. They also drive natural selection. Only the strongest and swiftest individuals can escape their sudden pounce. A male's territory here may cover just a few dozen square kilometers, yet that space is enough to maintain biological distance and harmony among individuals. Though they favor high terrain, leopards are not picky about where they live. From tropical rainforests to arid savannas, from rocky mountains to open grasslands, they can thrive anywhere there is enough cover and a steady food supply. However, this adaptability is now under serious threat. According to the 2024 update from the International Union for Conservation of Nature, leopard populations in Africa have declined by more than 30% over the past 3 decades, driven mainly by deforestation, poaching, and conflict with humans. As the leopard settles onto a high branch with its hard-won prize below, the Maasai Mara savanna continues to move. Not with roars, but with steady footsteps through the sun-bleached grass, comes the Maasai ostrich, the largest bird on Earth. Adult males stand up to 2.7 meters tall and weigh over 150 kilograms, with an unmistakable appearance, vivid reddish-pink necks and thighs set against jet-black plumage. That bold red isn't just for attracting mates. It also helps dissipate heat efficiently in temperatures nearing 40 degrees Celsius. In contrast, females wear soft beige-gray feathers, a perfect camouflage in the sun-scorched grasslands. With long legs and 2 sturdy toes shaped like hooves, the Maasai ostrich can run up to 70 kilometers per hour and maintain that speed over long distances. Each stride isn't driven by panic, but by a finely tuned escape strategy crafted by nature, fast yet energy efficient. Their eyes, nearly 50 millimeters wide, the largest of any land animal, let them spot danger from afar. Long, curved lashes shield against sun and dust, a quiet but powerful defense on the dry savanna. When cornered, the Maasai ostrich is far from an easy target. A single kick from its powerful legs can cause serious injury, even prove fatal, making it the only land bird capable of such deadly self-defense. Still, its main survival strategy remains early detection and swift retreat. While the Maasai ostrich strides through the dry grass of the savanna, tall necks rise above the horizon like living cranes, signaling the presence of the Maasai giraffe. Unlike zebras or antelope that migrate across vast distances, giraffes stay put, claiming the best vantage points as their own. With males reaching an average height of 5.5 meters, they are the tallest land animals on Earth, masters of browsing from leafy heights no other grazer can reach. The long neck of the Maasai giraffe isn't structurally bizarre. It's simply a set of elongated vertebrae, reinforced by a network of strong muscles and resilient ligaments. Its skin is covered in dark brown, jagged, oak leaf-shaped patches, each individual bearing a unique print, like nature's own fingerprint. They spend nearly 20 hours a day feeding, usually living in small herds of females and their young. Males are more often solitary or form temporary bachelor groups, especially during the breeding season. When competing for mates, they engage in necking, a ritual combat where they swing their necks and strike with their heads, using ossicones as weapons. Ossicones aren't true horns, but bone structures covered in skin, serving both as tools for battle and markers of gender identity. Today, the Maasai giraffe population in Kenya is estimated at around 35,000 to 45,000 individuals, with approximately 7,100 found in the Maasai Mara alone. However, this number has dropped by nearly 50% over the past few decades due to deforestation, human-wildlife conflict, poaching, and increasing pressure from infrastructure development. The Maasai giraffe is now listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. By late November, the rains become more scattered. Millions of antelope and zebras begin their journey back to their beloved home. Silently, they shift course eastward, moving into the lands of Loliondo, the path leading back to southern Serengeti. A small portion of the wildebeest herd crosses the Mara River once more, but the Nile crocodiles, now full, are no longer interested in being disturbed. The mating season had ended before they crossed the Mara, and the expectant mothers now need to return to Ndutu, the cradle of new life. They have 2 months to make their way eastward through Loliondo, back to southern Serengeti. Here, the wildebeest reunite with the gazelles, those who had hesitated at the edge of the river of no return. The migration of over 2 million antelope includes more than just wildebeest and plain zebra. A smaller antelope species travels alongside them, an appealing target for hungry cheetahs. On the grasslands now turned golden, it moves quietly but with intention. This is the Thompson's gazelle, also known as the Tommy. In a world where survival hinges on speed and cunning, the Thompson's gazelle, often called the dancer of the grasslands, embodies grace amid the harshness of the savanna. Capable of running up to 90 kilometers per hour and executing sharp turns with ease thanks to their small, sharp hooves, they force predators like cheetahs and leopards to think twice before making a move. When sensing danger, a Tommy may leap high with all 4 legs in a motion known as stotting, an act believed to serve both as a warning and a bold display of physical prowess. They don't lead the Great Migration alongside wildebeest and zebra. Instead, they choose to move along the edges or at the rear, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Only after the tall grasses have been trimmed do the Tommies graze on the tender shoots beneath, a more nutritious, energy-rich option. This strategy helps them stay under the radar, conserve energy, and benefit from the paths cleared by the larger herds. Small, but far from insignificant, the Thompson's gazelle is a vital link in the ecosystem, helping control grass growth and serving as a key food source for the cheetah, the fastest hunting cat on Earth. Across the grasslands of northern and central Serengeti at this time, as daytime temperatures climb, clouds vanish, and humidity drops, speed is no longer optional. It's a matter of survival. Hidden beneath the dry, golden grass, the cheetah, the fastest predator on Earth, locks its gaze on a distant target, a young Thompson's gazelle, momentarily separated from the herd, absorbed in its search for food. The social structure of the cheetah is notably distinct. Females live solitary lives, except during the period of raising cubs, which can last nearly 2 years. Males, on the other hand, form tight-knit groups known as coalitions, usually made up of brothers, though sometimes including unrelated individuals. These coalitions increase their ability to defend territory, attract mates, and fend off competition from other predators. Solitary individuals, particularly males, tend to have lower long-term survival rates due to lack of support and being more vulnerable to being outcompeted. The cheetah is a solitary figure with unmatched speed. But that speed comes with a limit. It can only be used once. Each hunt is a life or death gamble, where it has just 20 to 30 seconds to succeed before its body overheats, its heartbeat turns erratic, and its internal temperature spikes to dangerous levels. It hugs the ground, moving silently like a shadow along the slope, using every curve of the terrain to its advantage. Two black, tear-shaped stripes stretch from the corners of its eyes down to its snout, like the dark paint worn by track athletes, helping reduce glare and sharpen focus as it calculates distance and wind direction from afar. The gap closes. Only 60 meters remain. The cheetah launches forward like an arrow drawn to its limit. In just 3 seconds, it accelerates from 0 to nearly 96 kilometers per hour, then surges even faster, reaching speeds between 110 and 120 kilometers per hour, a velocity nearly unimaginable for any land-dwelling creature. The hunt is over, but the battle isn't. The cheetah has no time to breathe. It must eat quickly, tearing into the prey in haste before hyenas or lions catch the scent and arrive. Its body, built perfectly for speed, is far too fragile for a fight to defend its meal. In reality, cheetahs can lose up to 50% of their catches, especially in open areas like central Serengeti during the dry season, when dust fills the air and there are more hunters than prey. As the cheetah retreats after its brief, high-speed pursuit in the daylight, whatever remains is left to the black-backed jackal. An incredibly versatile creature, it's just as skilled at hunting as it is at scavenging. Its adaptable stomach allows the black-backed jackal to make use of every opportunity, from grasshoppers, lizards, and field mice, to hares, birds, eggs, and even small antelope like steenbok and springbok. After every hunt by a lion or leopard, they arrive, uninvited guests. But far from being mere freeloaders, jackals play a vital ecological role, cleaning up carcasses, breaking down dead tissue, and preventing the spread of disease. Their digestive microbiome is remarkably resilient, capable of handling harmful bacteria at levels few other species can tolerate. From December through March, the early rains turn the short, nutrient-rich grasses a vibrant green. The wildebeest herd has returned to its greatest natural birthing ground, Ndutu and the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. This land, with its flat terrain, steady water sources, and fewer threats from predators, is the perfect place to welcome the first newborns into the world. At the heart of the Ndutu Plains lies Lake Ndutu, an alkaline lake with a pH that can reach as high as 10.5. While its waters are unsuitable for most aquatic life, the lake's high concentration of sodium carbonate creates an ideal habitat for microalgae like spirulina, the primary food source for flocks of flamingos that gather here during the rainy season. In January 2025, approximately 200 lesser flamingos were recorded at Lake Ndutu. The lesser flamingo is the smallest flamingo species in the world. Yet it is the most numerous, with over 2.2 million individuals spread across East Africa. Despite their delicate appearance, they survive in some of the most unforgiving environments, where waters are highly alkaline, the mud is scorching, and the sun blazes overhead. Thick skin on their legs, specialized salt glands, and tough scales help them maintain internal balance under these extreme conditions. Unlike seed or insect-eating birds, they are living filters of saline lakes. They feed almost exclusively on cyanobacteria and carotenoid-rich diatoms, the compounds responsible for their signature pink-orange hue. Inside their curved bills are more than 10,000 lamellae, allowing them to filter water up to 20 times per second, a filtration system as intricate as a natural bioengineering marvel. From late January to mid-March each year, the volcanic grasslands of the Serengeti in Tanzania, especially the Ndutu Plains, transform into one of the largest natural birthing grounds on Earth. Here, one female wildebeest, among hundreds of thousands, is carrying new life, ready to begin a remarkable story of survival in the wild. According to the Tanzania National Parks Authority, in just the first 2 to 3 weeks of February, more than 500,000 calves are born around Lake Ndutu. That number is so massive, it forces predators to pause and compels the entire ecosystem to adapt. For the female wildebeest, pregnancy is no accident. Behind what may seem like a random reproductive cycle lies an intricate dance between hormones and the surrounding environment. After the first rains, the grasslands around Lake Ndutu turn lush and rich in protein, a gift from the land itself. With longer daylight hours and denser grass cover, all these factors act as cues that trigger her body's reproductive system into motion. When reproductive hormones surged throughout the herd around October of the previous year, she conceived, not just as a means of survival, but as part of a time-tested biological strategy. Now, after 8 months of pregnancy, she is ready. The calf within her is beginning to stir, just like hundreds of thousands of other young lives, awaiting the moment to step into the vastness of the world. Synchronized birth is no coincidence. It is an evolutionary strategy, honed over millions of years, designed to shield the next generation from the claws and teeth of the wild. When hundreds of thousands of calves arrive at once, predators, from lions and cheetahs to hyenas, are overwhelmed. They simply cannot focus on hunting one by one. This strategy is known as predator satiation, the phenomenon of overwhelming predators with a sheer abundance of newborns. Because of it, the chances of survival for the calf she's about to bring into the world rise significantly. In the unforgiving world of the Serengeti Plains, where the line between life and loss can be drawn in a single glance, giving birth all at once is nature's quiet stroke of wisdom. This female wildebeest will welcome her calf into a circle of her kind, forming a natural, living shield of bodies and movement. While blue wildebeest do not raise their young through a structured communal system, the shared presence of so many mothers and calves creates a relatively safe zone, one that gives predators pause before daring to charge the herd. What's remarkable is that this phenomenon of simultaneous birth also reduces internal competition. When all the calves are born around the same time, They share similar conditions and equal chances to access their mother's milk. None are too old or too small in comparison. This balance helps minimize the risk of being harmed by unrelated adults, promoting a kind of biological fairness within the herd. From a broader perspective, the phenomenon of synchronous birthing is not unique to wildebeest. Nature has orchestrated similar mass birth cycles in many other species, from salmon swimming upstream to lay their eggs, to sea turtles nesting on sandy shores, and coral reefs releasing eggs and sperm in unison under the moonlight. Yet, on a continental scale, the birthing spectacle around Lake Ndutu remains one of the most extraordinary biological events ever witnessed on land. Amid hundreds of thousands of blue wildebeest, one mother has just completed her very first birth. In an instant, she understands that her tiny newborn cannot wait for tenderness. It must immediately adapt to this world, learning to stand, to run, and to survive under the ever-watchful eyes of predators. The young blue wildebeest is born with a soft, pale tan coat, as if nature had painted on its first layer of camouflage. That coloring blends into the grass, shielding it from the watchful eyes of lurking predators. At night, in the chill, the same coat acts like an invisible blanket, holding warmth close to its small frame. Over the next 2 months, that fur will slowly shift to the species' signature blue-gray hue, with a mane and dark beard beginning to grow, marking the calf's quiet transformation into a true member of the herd. And then, just 3 to 7 minutes after birth, something remarkable happens. The tiny calf rises to its feet. Its legs tremble, but it does not fall. Within 15 minutes, it must learn to walk, to nurse, and to keep pace with the herd, because if it doesn't, it will be left behind. It's in this very moment that imprinting begins. The calf memorizes its mother's scent, shape, and voice. A biological bond takes root, like a sacred connection woven by the Creator between two living souls. The physical ability of a young blue wildebeest develops with astonishing speed. In just 1 week, it can already run at over 30 kilometers per hour. When the herd moves, calves like hers are surrounded at the center, shielded by mothers and full-grown wildebeest, forming a living wall of muscle that deters the predators lurking along the edges. By around 8 months old, the young blue wildebeest will leave its mother and join a peer group. There, it learns how to live within the social structure, recognize warning signals, and respond to threats, lessons it could never learn alone. This separation, though touched with a hint of loneliness, is a necessary step in maintaining the herd's balance. If it's female, it may be ready to reproduce in about 16 months. If it's male, the wait is longer, up to 24 months. And like all other males, it must face fierce competition for rank, where it's not always the strongest, but the most persistent and clever that will earn the chance to pass on its lineage. In the Ndutu Plains, the survival rate of newborn calves depends entirely on the rain. If the grass grows quickly and thick, more than 80% of the calves can make it. But if the rains come late or the grazing is sparse, they grow weak, fall behind, and become easy targets. And if separated from their mother for just a few minutes, a young blue wildebeest can quickly become prey for a hungry pride of lions lying in wait. What are your thoughts on the journey of a blue wildebeest being born? Let us know in the comments below. rises over the endless grasslands of the Ndutu Plains, with early mist still drifting low to the ground, casting a thin, smoky veil across the landscape. In the cool morning air, before the first rays of sunlight can dry the dew from the blades of grass, a group of lionesses is closing in on their prey. They've been tracking the blue wildebeest herd since twilight. Now is the perfect moment to strike. The air is cool, the breeze is light and blowing in their favor. Their hearing and vision, finely tuned for low light conditions, are now at their sharpest. One young wildebeest is starting to fall behind the herd. The lionesses know this window won't stay open for long. With powerful muscles built for short, explosive bursts, they don't chase the way wild dogs do. All they need is one precise charge. Two lionesses move in silently from either side, their amber eyes burning through the mist. They are the wings tasked with steering the wildebeest toward a dead end. Meanwhile, another lioness crouches low ahead of the herd, hidden among the short grasses, poised to intercept. The role of the center is more than just waiting. It's about reading the chaos and predicting the path of panic in the instant the prey bolts. The wildebeest herd suddenly senses that something is off. A few leap to their feet, hooves pounding the ground in a rising rhythm. Chaos begins to unfold. In just a few seconds, the dust begins to settle. The wildebeest herd has fled, leaving behind a single fallen prize. The hunt ends cleanly, without chaos, without cruelty beyond what survival demands. Simply another turn in the unbroken cycle of life on the plains. The males, with their thick, dark manes, emblems of high testosterone, carry both a symbol of strength and a biological armor against injury during clashes. The color and density of the mane directly reflect a male's reproductive potential and his standing within the pride. Even the way lions care for their young reveals the species' uniquely communal nature. Lionesses often give birth around the same time. Cubs can nurse from any lactating female, not just their own mother. This shared caregiving boosts survival rates and strengthens social bonds within the pride. The cubs are born with spotted coats that offer better camouflage in their early months, a subtle yet brilliant detail shaped by natural selection. The ecological role of lions cannot be overstated. As apex predators at the top of the food chain, they regulate populations of large herbivores, helping maintain balance across the entire ecosystem. When lion numbers decline, prey populations can surge, putting unsustainable pressure on vegetation and the surrounding environment. Their presence, therefore, is not just symbolic, it is a vital link in the machinery of nature. In the Serengeti, lions aren't the only hunters. The spotted hyena is another predator that takes full advantage of the synchronized birthing of blue wildebeest. Far from being lazy scavengers, as they were once thought to be, hyenas are skilled hunters in their own right. They are capable of bringing down full-grown wildebeest, isolated zebras, and even young hippos. Prey they hunt themselves, making up 60 to 95% of their daily diet. A hyena has set its sights on a newborn wildebeest. It charges through the sea of wildebeest, millions strong, toward the small, disoriented calf. With a powerful bite to the hindquarters, it nearly claims its prize. But the mother arrives just in time. Lowering her head, she drives the predator back with her sharp horns, while nudging her calf into the safety of the protective ring. This time, the bond of a mother's instinct wins. Ngorongoro crater is not only an ideal place for ambushing prey, it also serves as a natural fortress for the survival of hyenas. Within an area of less than 40 square kilometers, hyena density can reach nearly 470 individuals, a figure that exceeds almost any other hyena population across Africa. Unlike the typical social structure seen in most carnivores, the spotted hyena operates under a strict matriarchal order. Females are not only larger and more muscular, but also hold complete dominance within the clan. Even the highest-ranking male cannot outrank a subordinate female. Power is passed from mother to daughter, shaping a tightly organized social hierarchy within each clan, ranging from 6 to over 90 individuals, depending on the territory. Across the endless grasslands of the Serengeti, a fierce hunt is quietly taking shape. There's no lone stealth at play. Spotted hyenas operate differently, with precision and coordination, like a battle-hardened army moving as one. A group of 3 to 5 individuals breaks away from the clan, silently forming a formation, not for explosive speed, but for unmatched endurance. Before the wildebeest even senses the threat, the chase is already underway, stretching between 1.5 and 5 kilometers. This isn't a lightning-fast ambush, it's a brutal test of stamina. The strongest antelope, eyes wide with panic and breaths growing heavy, are gradually worn down by the relentless, tireless pursuit of these endurance-driven hunters. Hyenas don't need to be faster, they just need to outlast. When the prey is exhausted, nearly collapsing on the open savanna, the first bites from the hyena pack deliver the final verdict. Their jaws, capable of exerting up to 4,500 newtons of force, enough pressure to crush a steel door, tear through thick muscle and even shatter spine. Unlike many other carnivores, hyenas are absolute utilizers. They don't just eat meat. Bones, hooves, cartilage, and even teeth are all crushed and digested thanks to their powerful, highly acidic digestive system. As a result, their scat takes on a chalky white color, rich in calcium phosphate, a clear sign of their ability to process every last trace of nature's offering. At night, the sounds echoing from within the crater are more than just wind brushing against sheer rock walls. They include the far-carrying whoop of a lone hyena, marking territory, calling to clanmates, or sending an urgent alert. Alongside the infamous unsettling laughter, an eerie sound often likened to mockery or madness, is an entire system of complex social communication. All of it supports the tightly knit structure within the clan, a network of interaction more akin to that of primates than typical carnivores. The spotted hyena is not a dog. From an evolutionary standpoint, it is more closely related to cats, belonging to the Feliformia group, alongside leopards, civets, and mongooses. But their appearance can be deceiving. Their powerful build, sloping back legs, haunting calls, and pack-based lifestyle often make them look and behave more like members of the canine family. From an ecological perspective, hyenas are more than just hunters. They are among nature's most effective cleanup crews. By consuming entire carcasses, they help minimize sources of disease, recycle nutrients, and keep the savanna ecosystem running smoothly. In this ever-shifting grassland, where wildebeest, buffalo, and zebra herds are constantly on the move with the seasons, the presence of hyenas serves as a steady pivot point between life and loss. At Ngorongoro crater, a place where remains are present year-round, the petite hooded vulture is often the first to arrive, yet one of the last to leave. Unlike its much larger relatives like the white-backed vulture or the lappet-faced vulture, This species weighs just under 2 kilograms. Unlike most vultures in the Old World group, the hooded vulture has a well-developed sense of smell. They can detect remains from a distance, especially in the early morning, when thermals are just beginning to form and predators have yet to leave their overnight resting spots. Its slender, tweezer-like beak works almost like a precision tool, allowing it to handle every millimeter of a lifeless form with care. Its small size lets it slip into tight spaces within a carcass to clean up what's been left behind, bits of skin, eyeballs, brain tissue tucked deep inside the skull, things the larger species tend to overlook. By taking care of the final scraps, it helps reduce the risk of spreading illnesses such as anthrax, botulism, or rabies in the warm, humid environment teeming with microorganisms. In late March, as the wildebeest herds head toward the western Serengeti in search of fresh grass, the hooded vultures stay behind with the remains. Without needing to migrate, they remain quiet witnesses to the cycle of life, loss, and renewal across the harsh savanna. From April to June, as the dry season begins to sweep across the western corridor of the Serengeti, the landscape shifts into parched golden fields. The scarcity of water and vegetation sends a clear signal. It's time for approximately 1.7 million wildebeest to begin their great migration, moving westward and then northward, following the rhythm of rain and drought. Traveling alongside them are the plain zebras. The plain zebra carries a map of patterns unlike any other. Its black and white stripes ripple from shoulder to thigh, from neck to legs, forming a visual language that is entirely unique. No two zebras share the same design. This not only makes them easily identifiable subjects for biologists, but also helps zebras recognize one another among the thousands within a herd. Amid the wild complexity of the natural world, these stripes feel like personal calling cards, hand-signed by the Creator. The question of why zebras have stripes has long puzzled scientists. However, over time, several theories have become increasingly clear. When zebras gather in herds, their stripes blend together, creating a dazzle camouflage effect that makes it difficult for predators like lions to single out and lock onto a target. A recent study published in 2024 also found that polarized light reflected from zebra stripes disrupts the navigation systems of tsetse flies and horseflies, two insect species known for carrying harmful diseases. Beneath those stripes lies a body built for resilience. Zebras can run up to 65 kilometers per hour, a speed vital for crossing perilous open plains or fording rivers like the Ngorongoro, where crocodiles over 5 meters long lie in wait beneath the murky surface. Unlike some grazers that selectively feed on soft grass, zebras are pioneer grazers. They lead the way, consuming the dry, coarse grass and clearing a path for wildebeest, topi, and gazelle to follow and enjoy the tender new growth that springs up afterward. This feeding strategy not only helps zebras adapt to the sparse vegetation of the dry season, but also positions them as quiet, ecological architects, sustaining the flow and diversity of wildlife across the savanna. Each year, from April to June, as the rains fade and watering holes begin to dry up, zebra herds set out, following an ancient map etched into ancestral memory. The latest satellite data from 2024 recorded over 250,000 zebra taking part in this journey, a vital part of the greater migration of more than 2 million herbivores across the Serengeti. What's fascinating is that zebras do not move at random. The hippocampus region of their brains, the center for storing spatial memory, is especially well developed, enabling them to navigate with remarkable accuracy across hundreds of kilometers of grassland, from the western Serengeti all the way to the Maasai Mara in Kenya. Zebra herds not only lead the way on the ground, but also serve as ecological beacons for the entire migration. When zebras appear, wildebeests soon follow. It's not just because zebras clear the path physically, but also because they carry vital information: where grass still grows, where water can still be found, and where it's safe to pause and rest. If the plain zebra dazzles the world with its striking camouflage, then in the Serengeti, another creature can nearly vanish into the landscape by simply staying still. That is the puff adder, a famed venomous snake of Africa, a master of ambush, a silent warrior of the savanna. The name puff adder comes from its signature defensive behavior. When threatened, it inflates its body and lets out a loud hissing sound like a bellows, a final warning before it strikes. Its long fangs, hinged to open wide, drive down into the target, delivering cytotoxic venom that causes tissue damage, blistering, and, if left untreated, can even lead to loss of a limb. While it's not the most venomous species, 3 key traits make it particularly threatening. It is widespread, often found near human activity, and rarely chooses to flee. Instead of escaping, the puff adder typically remains motionless, making it easy for someone to step on it by accident. According to the World Health Organization, it remains the leading cause of snake-related fatalities in Africa, especially in sub-Saharan and East African regions, including the Serengeti. Even with potent venom and masterful camouflage, the puff adder stands little chance against this remarkable bird. The name secretary bird has 2 intriguing explanations. One links it to the image of a 19th century secretary, dressed in grey with quill pens tucked behind the ear, echoing the bird's sleek grey feathers and striking black crest. The other comes from the Arabic phrase "saqr et tayr," meaning hunter bird, which more accurately captures the bold, ground-hunting nature of this extraordinary species. Unlike most raptors that soar through the skies, the secretary bird is a predator of the ground. It's renowned for its skill in dispatching snakes, including venomous ones like cobras and puff adders. Each strike, delivered with scaly, horn-covered feet, lands with a force 5 times the bird's own body weight and is executed in less than 15 milliseconds, enough to break bones or bring down prey instantly. Its attack is not only lightning fast, but also remarkably precise, often aimed directly at the head or neck to swiftly end the encounter. On the flat expanse of the Western Corridor, as the grasslands dry and crack under the footsteps of millions, the Grumeti and Mbalajeti rivers become the last remaining lifelines. But where there is water, there is also lurking risk. The Grumeti, a seasonal river, holds rainwater from the end of the wet season, gradually shrinking into shallow, muddy segments, still and brown like a mirror. Beneath that surface, Nile crocodiles up to 4 meters long lie motionless, with only their eyes above water, ready to launch a strike powerful enough to bring down a full-grown wildebeest in a blink. Crossing isn't a choice, it's a necessity. But this river isn't just for the thirsty wildebeest herds. As heavy hoofbeats press deep into the soil, the towering form of the African bush elephant emerges from the edge of the sparse woodland. With unmatched size and sheer power, they are visitors that even the Nile crocodile approaches with caution. The African bush elephant is the largest land-dwelling mammal on Earth. A full-grown male can stand up to 4 meters tall, weigh over 7 metric tons, and quite literally carry the weight of an entire ecosystem on its back. In the dry, searing heat of the Serengeti's volcanic grasslands, that massive frame can be a burden, but it's also what sets them apart. Those large ears, shaped like the African continent, flap constantly. Beneath their thick skin lies a dense network of blood vessels that helps release heat, a built-in cooling system of nature's design. The steady motion of their ears is not just for swatting away flies, but also a way to regulate body temperature after long treks across the plains. Meanwhile, their flexible trunk, containing over 40,000 individual muscles, works like a multi-tool, drawing water, plucking grass, even splashing it onto their backs like a living sunscreen under the open sky. When the elephant herd approaches the Ngorongoro River, they face more than just thirst. The waters left behind after the rainy season often turn murky and unpredictable. Ngorongoro crocodiles, reaching lengths of up to 4 meters, lie motionless beneath the mud, waiting patiently for a single misstep. Adult elephants usually pause, scanning the water carefully for a long moment before taking that first step in. Young elephants, still fragile and easily startled, are surrounded by larger members of the herd, forming a protective circle around them. In critical moments, the entire group is willing to turn back against the current or use their trunks to pull a calf out of deep mud. Not a single move is made by chance. These decisions are guided by the memory and experience of the oldest female, the matriarch, the herd's quiet yet unwavering leader. Each day, an adult elephant needs up to 150 kilograms of vegetation and more than 190 liters of water. When the grasslands are scorched, they begin digging shallow wells, using their tusks, modified incisor teeth, to break through the soil in search of moisture. Those tusks, long and curved, are both a beautiful symbol and a tragic one. They're used for snapping branches, unearthing roots, and self-defense, but they are also the reason thousands of elephants are illegally hunted each year. Even so, this species continues to play an irreplaceable role in the Serengeti ecosystem. They are true ecosystem engineers. Every branch they break, every path they carve through the brush, helps create space for countless other species to thrive. Elephant dung is more than just waste. It's rich fuel for seed dispersal, helping forests and grasslands regenerate after each fire season. After crossing the Ngorongoro River, the wildebeest herd continues its journey in search of fresh grass, guided by the collective wisdom of the group. But now they face a species that uses the power of the pack even more effectively. That is the African wild dog. At first glance, they look like living works of art. Coats mottled in black, white, yellow and brown, as if painted by the hand of a free-spirited artist. But that beauty serves more than just admiration. In the wild, each individual's one-of-a-kind coat acts as camouflage, blending into dappled light and brush, turning the entire pack into a seamless extension of the landscape. But what makes their hunts so effective isn't just their appearance. Take a closer look at their long, muscular legs, built with only 4 toes and no dew claw. This unique evolutionary trait reduces drag, conserves energy, and is perfectly suited for long-distance chases. With large lungs and a lean, elongated frame, they can maintain a steady pace for hours without tiring. Perched atop their heads, the large, round ears rise like radar antennas, not just tools for listening. These ears can rotate independently, picking up signals from kilometers away, from the rustle of prey to the distant calls of packmates. At the same time, they function as biological radiators, helping regulate body temperature under the intense Serengeti sun. And then, the hunt begins. No need for stealth, no need for ambush. A small group breaks off, selecting a target, often a young impala or wildebeest. They start by holding a steady pace around 10 kilometers per hour, gradually pushing the prey toward exhaustion. As the prey struggles to find a way out, other members of the pack take turns closing in, keeping relentless pressure, like a relay chase where the hunters conserve their energy while the prey slowly runs out of steam. When the prey stumbles, even for just a split second, the pack surges forward, accelerating to 70 kilometers per hour and closing the trap. One cuts off the front, another locks down the rear, while others strike from the sides, each individual executing its role with precision, in a strategy honed over millions of years of evolution. According to 2024 data from the Wildlife Conservation Society, African wild dogs have a hunting success rate ranging from 70 to 90%, the highest in the animal kingdom among predators. Not because of sheer power, but because of perfect coordination. Another remarkable trait is their high reproductive capacity. An alpha female can give birth to 10 to 12 pups in a single litter, sometimes even up to 20. This is nature's way of balancing out the high mortality rate among pups, caused by disease, predators, and shifting climate conditions. Once the African wild dog pack has had its fill, tearing the prey apart and feeding, they move on, leaving behind scraps of flesh and bone. Seizing the moment, black-cloaked birds descend and gather around, as if holding a solemn vigil for the fallen. These are marabou storks, birds known not only by their nickname, Undertaker bird, for their somber appearance, but also for their vital ecological role, nature's cleanup crew in the wild. Millions of years of evolution have shaped the marabou stork into a creature perfectly adapted for a scavenger's life. Its head and neck are completely bald, covered in pale, blotchy pink skin that makes cleanup easier after plunging deep into decaying carcasses. If that area were covered in feathers, fluids and bacteria from the remains would cling to them, leading to serious infections. This is a biological adaptation, much like that of vultures, reflecting a highly specialized evolutionary path for the role of ecological sanitation. The marabou stork is one of the largest flying birds on land. It can stand up to 1.5 meters tall, with a wingspan reaching 3.7 meters, roughly the length of a family car. Despite its massive frame, its weight is optimized by hollow bone structures in its legs and toes, allowing it to soar effortlessly on rising thermal currents from the ground. In the sky, it can glide at altitudes above 4,500 meters with minimal wing flapping, conserving energy as it scans the grasslands below for carcasses or scraps. They often work alongside vultures as part of a professional cleanup crew. While vultures use their hooked beaks to tear through thick hides, the marabou stork's large wedge-shaped bill is built to reach into crevices and extract meat from deep within the carcass. When they can't break open the body themselves, they'll wait patiently or feed on leftovers from other species. And sometimes, they'll even fight for scraps if the opportunity arises. This ecological hierarchy in scavenging maximizes the use of available resources, while also helping to cleanse the environment of pathogens and decay. By late June, the wildebeest herd, along with zebras and various antelope species, continues to push northward toward the Mara River, the most dramatic chapter of the Great Migration, closing the circle of life. The Mara River is deep, wide and muddy. Nile crocodiles lie hidden beneath its still surface, while both riverbanks become ambush points for lions, leopards and hyenas. Statistics show that each year, around 250,000 wildebeest never make it to the Maasai Mara, lost to hunger, thirst, exhaustion, predators, or the river itself. But without crossing the Mara River, they can never reach the Promised Land. So, what are you waiting for? That journey begins on some of the oldest ground on Earth. The bedrock of the Serengeti was formed during the Precambrian era, over 2.6 billion years ago, layered with volcanic ash spread across the land from eruptions of Oldoinyo Lengai, the only active volcano in the region. This ash, rich in minerals and full of vitality, nourishes the low-growing grasses that form a soft carpet over the basalt plains. In the endless cycle of life, the great migration of the blue wildebeest is more than a struggle to survive. It is a breathtaking symbol of nature's rhythm. That massive herd, estimated at between 1.3 and 1.5 million individuals, never stops moving. They travel quietly in a continuous loop nearly 1,930 kilometers long each year, crossing the entire greater Serengeti Mara ecosystem, which spans more than 30,000 square kilometers. Half of the journey unfolds across the plains of the Serengeti in northern Tanzania, while the rest stretches into the Maasai Mara Reserve in southern Kenya. The great migration of the wildebeest is far from an aimless journey. It is a remarkably precise movement, driven by the instincts of survival. Its ultimate goal is to seek fresh grass, access to water, and safe calving grounds, three essential pillars for sustaining life across the unforgiving savanna. Wherever the rain falls, fresh grass springs to life, and the herd follows without hesitation. They leave behind the old grounds not out of loyalty, but because life offers no pause. The mass river crossings, where hundreds of thousands plunge into deep waters under the glinting gaze of Nile crocodiles, create moments that are both awe-inspiring and heavy with loss. Data from 2024 shows that each migration season leaves behind nearly 1,600 tons of animal remains drifting downriver. But this very current of loss becomes a source of renewal for the entire aquatic ecosystem. Thanks to it, phosphorus levels rise by over 450%, carbon by 191%, and nitrogen by 78%, boosting nutrient cycles and enriching the riverbed. Every step taken by the wildebeest herd not only preserves their lineage, but also feeds the grasslands, regenerates the soil, and spreads life outward, as if this migration were the beating heart that keeps all of East Africa alive. If the Great Migration captivates with the sheer number of antelope moving in an endless loop, then Kilimanjaro, the final Tanzanian site on the list, makes its mark through height and solitude. Towering over vast open plains, Mount Kilimanjaro draws the eye not only with its 5,895-meter elevation, but also because it is a stratovolcano that belongs to no mountain range. According to research, Kilimanjaro was formed by three distinct volcanic cones: Kibo, Mawenzi, and Shira. Kibo is the highest and youngest of the three, and is currently considered a dormant volcano, with the potential to erupt again, though the likelihood is very low. Mawenzi, rising to 5,149 meters, is an extinct volcano with a jagged, dramatic landscape. Meanwhile, Shira has been heavily eroded over time, leaving behind a broad plateau at 3,962 meters, a tranquil stage where sky and earth seem to stretch endlessly across the wild expanse. Kilimanjaro is not only geologically unique, but ecologically diverse across its vertical expanse. The rapid shift in climate zones, from the cultivated lowlands at its base to the icy summit, makes it one of the most distinct altitudinal ecosystems on Earth. Scientists often refer to it as a journey from the equator to the Arctic, where every upward step brings you into an entirely new world. Above 5,000 meters, the summit of Kibo reveals a realm seemingly reserved for polar regions. Snow and ice cover the landscape year-round, with slow-moving glaciers stretched across a quiet, frozen world. It's almost hard to believe this icy scene lies so close to the equator. Between 4,000 and 5,000 meters, the scenery changes dramatically. The air is thin, with pressure dropping to just 60% of sea level. Cold winds blow fiercely, and the barren, ashen rocks resemble the surface of an alien planet. Hardly any plants survive here. Only a few lichens and mosses cling tightly to the stone. Descending to the 2,800 to 4,000 meter range, life begins to reappear, strange and brilliantly adapted. Alpine meadows and shrublands unfold like a scene from prehistory. Giant groundsels, standing over 6 meters tall, stack their leafy rosettes like natural machines, perfectly engineered to withstand the bitter cold of the night. From 1,800 meters upward, lush tropical rainforests begin to take over. This green canopy is home to over 1,200 plant species and hundreds of endemic birds. Crowned eagle reigns over this kingdom. The existence of the crowned eagle is deeply entwined with the ancient evolutionary history of African raptors. According to data from ancient DNA analysis, the genetic line of the crowned eagle diverged from primitive Accipitridae groups at least 3 million years ago. Throughout that lineage, the species retained several distinct morphological traits: an oversized skull, unusually developed talons, and exceptional leg muscle grip strength. These features are not only remnants of paleobiological history, but also refined hunting tools, shaping a silent predator that rules the forest depths. The crowned eagle's hunting strategy blends ambush with speed. In the dense forest canopies that cloak the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro, where mist weaves between trees towering dozens of meters high, it waits, still and silent, hidden among thick branches, its amber eyes glowing like twin flames. Far below the canopy, a troop of colobus monkeys moves from limb to limb, their contrasting black and white fur fluttering like silk in the dappled sunlight. They move slowly, confident in the height and agility that have long served as their greatest defenses. With a wingspan of nearly 2 meters, the eagle's broad yet remarkably agile wings allow it to glide through the treetops without making a sound, a rare skill among large birds of prey. Its powerful legs can exert a gripping force of up to 30.9 kilograms per square centimeter, roughly 30 times the pressure inside a car tire. It is this weapon that allows the eagle to bring down even fully grown monkeys weighing nearly 10 kilograms in an instant. Suddenly, a sharp, piercing screech rips through the forest. Like a bolt of living lightning in broad daylight, the eagle dives at over 160 kilometers per hour, weaving through the branches with deadly precision. A young monkey looks up just in time to see steel talons clamp around its body, lifting it skyward. A single terrified cry echoes, and then silence. The colobus troop scatters in a panic, leaping to distant branches, beyond the reach of the shadow above. The colobus monkeys living on this mountain are classified as Kilimanjaro guereza, also known as mantled guereza, a species whose striking fur has become almost symbolic of the mist-shrouded forests of the highlands. Unlike omnivorous monkeys, the Kilimanjaro guereza is a folivore, a specialist in leaf consumption. Its diet consists primarily of leaves, including older varieties with high cellulose content or mild toxins that most other primates cannot digest. This remarkable ability comes from a specialized digestive system with a multi-chambered stomach. Functioning much like that of ruminant animals, it houses symbiotic microbes that efficiently break down cellulose. While this diet offers a major ecological advantage, it provides relatively low energy. As a result, the Kilimanjaro guereza tends to be sedentary, spending much of its day quietly digesting among the treetops. Their stillness has led many researchers to describe them as the meditative element of the forest, blending seamlessly into their surroundings while playing a quiet yet vital ecological role. Though they live at a slow pace, the mantled guereza displays remarkable agility when needed, a crucial survival skill in the multi-layered rainforests of Kilimanjaro. Their unique hand structure, almost completely lacking thumbs, is a distinctive evolutionary trait. From Greek origins, colobus means mutilated or shortened, referencing their hook-like hands that allow for an exceptionally strong grip on branches during movement. These hands act like natural climbing hooks, highly effective in the thick, tangled forests they call home. With lightweight bodies, strong leg power, and long tails that serve as stabilizing rudders, Kilimanjaro guerezas can leap up to 15 meters from tree to tree. In those moments, their long, flowing white tails trail behind like silk ribbons dancing through the air, a breathtaking image shaped by evolution itself. And finally, as one descends to altitudes between 800 and 1,800 meters, Kilimanjaro reveals a tranquil scene where humans and nature coexist in harmony. At the base of the mountain, where low clouds drift along the slopes and the border between Kenya and Tanzania becomes just a faint concept, the quiet, steady footsteps of African elephants leave their mark on the red earth. Unafraid of boundaries or fences, they are cross-border nomads. Not confined to a fixed territory, the Kilimanjaro elephants continue to live a nomadic life, an ancient rhythm that ties them closely to both Kenya's Amboseli National Park and the forested slopes of Kilimanjaro National Park on the Tanzanian side. Their migratory journeys form an invisible thread connecting two seemingly separate ecosystems, creating a rare biological corridor that links the two countries in a shared ecological bond. From the floodplains of Amboseli during the rainy season, African elephants move along ancient ecological corridors toward the northern slopes of Kilimanjaro when the dry season sets in. This is a strategic form of migration, not fixed in a strict annual cycle, but deeply influenced by rainfall, moisture levels, and changes in vegetation. The montane forests of Kilimanjaro, rich in clay minerals and layered plant diversity, provide a valuable alternative food source when the plains grow barren. During this journey, certain individuals stand out for their remarkable tusks, nearly touching the ground, known as the Great Tuskers, living relics of a genetic lineage that has nearly vanished across most of Africa. Scientists have analyzed the genomes of several male elephants in this region and discovered rare genetic variations linked to rapid tusk development, enhanced immunity, and exceptional longevity. The presence of legendary individuals like Big Tim offers compelling evidence of an ancient genetic line still quietly preserved within the Kilimanjaro-Amboseli ecosystem. Beyond their iconic status, elephants are true ecosystem engineers. As they move through the landscape, they break shrubs, carve paths through dense forest, and create natural corridors that benefit species like duiker, bushbuck, warthog, and even predators such as leopards. While feeding on fruit and foliage, they unintentionally collect seeds and later disperse them through their dung, an incredibly effective method of forest regeneration. Studies show that in the montane forests at the base of Kilimanjaro, up to 30% of tree species depend on elephants for seed dispersal, especially those with large fruits that smaller animals cannot handle. Adding to their ecological role is a unique behavior observed in the Kilimanjaro elephants, climbing steep slopes to mine minerals from the earth. These elephants use their tusks and trunks to dig several meters into clay-rich soil in search of sodium and other trace elements, creating natural mineral mines that attract many other species in need of micronutrients. This behavior highlights a spatial nutritional connection between habitats that might otherwise seem isolated, and it demonstrates a remarkable capacity for dietary self-regulation that few large animals can match. For the Chaga people, Kilimanjaro is not merely part of the landscape, it is part of the soul. They believe the clouds that always veil the summit of Kibo are home to ancestral spirits, and that the water flowing down from the mountain is a sacred gift from God. The image of Kilimanjaro rising from the savanna, defying weather, gravity, and time, echoes the biblical Mount Sinai, a place where humanity meets the divine. Now head south, past the broad canopied forests, beyond the sun-scorched savannas of Tanzania and Zambia, to a place where the land no longer rises toward the sky, but instead sinks into the earth. We arrive in a different world, the Okavango Delta, the largest inland wetland in Africa. Unlike most major river systems around the world that end their journey at the sea, the Okavango River comes to a halt in the heart of the Kalahari Desert. In 2014, UNESCO recognized this place as the 1,000th World Natural Heritage Site, not only for its geographic uniqueness, but for its global ecological value as one of the last untouched inland ecosystems on Earth. Here, the river flows into a vast, landlocked basin with no outlet to the ocean. Each year, it releases about 11 billion cubic meters of water, creating one of the most extraordinary natural spectacles on the planet. This water spreads across an area ranging from 6,000 to over 15,000 square kilometers, and at peak flood, the delta can expand to as much as 22,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of the US state of New Jersey. Every drop of water here carries a mission: to bring the land back to life. The unique timing of the flood cycle creates a rare paradox. Water rises during the dry season, and life blooms when the rest of the region is parched. In that moment, Okavango becomes a grand gathering ground for one of the most diverse and powerful wildlife populations on Earth. It is one of the very few places left on the planet where large predator populations still exist entirely under natural conditions. Overhead, more than 480 bird species have been recorded, making this one of the world's most vital hotspots for avian diversity. Predators thrive, compete, and share space in harmony with grazers. Beneath the surface, a rich aquatic ecosystem supports dozens of native fish species, providing essential sustenance for the Nile crocodile and the hippopotamus, two iconic symbols of the delta's raw, untamed power. Hippopotamuses don't float along with the current like crocodiles, nor do they slink through mud like otters. They walk, step by solid step, each night, from deep water refuges to forage on land. And it is this unwavering routine, repeated over many years, that has carved out what are now known as hippo highways. Underwater trails compressed and eroded by thousands of heavy footfalls, turning soft mud into firm pathways, gradually altering the flow of water. What began simply as routes of movement have, over time, evolved into a complex network of water channels, connecting shallow pools and remote marshes to the central flow of the delta. They function like capillaries in a living body, allowing water to circulate even in the dry season, retaining soil moisture and sustaining habitats for countless species. According to satellite data and on-the-ground surveys published in 2024, many tributary zones in the Okavango still hold water well into October, the height of the dry season, thanks to these hippo trails channeling water from the main river into outer wetlands. But the hippo's role doesn't end with water movement. Each night, a single hippo can consume between 30 and 40 kilograms of grass, mostly soft grasses growing along the floodplains. Once full, it returns to the water to cool its body and escape the harsh sunlight. And then, within those waters, it releases massive amounts of waste, a natural fertilizer rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, fueling the growth of algae and plankton. As the dry season sweeps across the Okavango Delta, the once vast wetlands shrink to a few shallow waterholes, now cracked at the edges and fading fast. Wherever water remains, it becomes a battleground. From a distance, a group of lions approaches. The heat is brutal, their throats dry with thirst. But to take a sip, they must face the true ruler of these waters. The hippo opens its enormous mouth like a stone gate, revealing tusks sharp as blades. It is not an invitation, it is a challenge. Without water, the hippo cannot survive. Its massive body relies on submersion to maintain a stable temperature, as its skin is highly sensitive to sun exposure. When left too long under the sun, the skin cracks, bleeds, and becomes prone to infection. They need hours of cooling in water or mud. Without it, they rapidly dehydrate and weaken. Even their respiratory and circulatory systems are affected. Heart rate and body temperature rise to dangerous levels. That's why, when the pools dry up, hippos are forced to wander across land in search of new waterholes and become more aggressive than ever. The lions tense up, manes bristling, forming a line at the edge of the pool. But the hippo swings open its gaping jaws, revealing tusks nearly half a meter long. A single bite could crush a buffalo's bones, let alone serve as a warning to anything daring to keep it from the water. With a powerful jerk of its head, dust explodes into the air, forcing the pride to retreat. In the end, the lions yield the path. Control over a waterhole isn't a story told by hippos alone. Lions crave dominance just as fiercely. Their prides are a nightmare for antelope and any prey that dares to drink. Unlike lion populations in drier regions like the Serengeti or Etosha, the lions of the Okavango must adapt to a world defined by water. Each flood season transforms the delta into a maze of channels and islands. Small patches of dry land become temporary strongholds, and traveling between hunting grounds requires not just strength, but the ability to swim. Unlike most big cats, which tend to avoid water, the Okavango lions regularly swim across wide, deep channels. Their muscles, especially around the shoulders and chest, are more developed due to constant movement through water and mud, giving them visibly more robust builds than their cousins in drier habitats. On average, males here can weigh between 240 and 250 kilograms, and females between 160 and 170 kilograms, some of the heaviest recorded for African lions. This physical development is accompanied by a shift in survival strategy. In an ecosystem where the boundary between land and water constantly shifts, hunts no longer play out on open plains, but in a challenging environment of tall grass, marshes, and moving water. Their primary prey is the Cape buffalo, hoofed giants weighing over 600 kilograms, known for their aggression and resistance. Each adult buffalo drinks between 30 and 45 liters of water daily, making access to water a matter of survival. When threatened, herds tend to push their calves and weaker members toward deeper water for safety. Buffalo are surprisingly strong swimmers. Despite their size, their powerful legs and shoulders help them balance in deep water, and they use that mass to charge and counterattack with force. And they're not passive victims. It's not uncommon for a wall of black hide to stop a pride in its tracks. Water, while essential, is far from an ideal hunting environment for lions. To bring down a mature buffalo, Okavango lions must execute highly coordinated attacks, often splitting into groups to distract and ambush. They take advantage of flooded terrain, using the mud to slow their prey before launching a surprise assault from the opposite direction. From the tall reeds, higher than a grown man's head, 3 shadows creep forward. A powerful lioness, eyes glowing like twin embers, leads 2 young males stalking close behind. Their target is in sight, a herd of Cape buffalo wading through a shallow marsh, calves tucked among towering adult bodies. Alert, but not alarmed, the lioness halts, crouches low. This isn't an impulsive chase. It's a calculated ambush. In the breathless hush of the grass, all 3 split apart. The 2 males charge from behind, scattering the herd and forcing the weaker members into the open, separating a cow and her calf from the protective wall of the group. The trap closes. The mother buffalo realizes it too late. She pivots and charges with everything she has, but one of the young males has already flanked them, leaping onto the calf's shoulders. She tries to gore him with her horns, but the lion dodges, causing the calf to take the full force. From the side, the lion sank its teeth deep into the buffalo's belly, bringing it to its knees. In a splash of flying mud, the calf let out a desperate cry as it was dragged into the thick reeds. The mother buffalo collapsed. The hunt was over. The lioness has led the operation to success. Among lions, females are the core of the hunt. A rare biological phenomenon has been recorded in the Okavango: the appearance of manned lionesses exhibiting male-like dominance behavior. These females don't grow full manes, but they do develop thicker neck fur and display behaviors typically seen in males, roaring, scent-marking, and sometimes leading the pride. Scientists believe this may be due to hormonal imbalance, specifically abnormally high levels of testosterone. The root cause could lie in genetic factors within an isolated population, where limited genetic diversity and selective pressure push certain individuals to evolve multifunctional traits for leadership and defense. Let's now turn to another pack-based predator. They hunt with more precision than lions, and they may be the most efficient hunters in Africa's wild: the African wild dog. In the heart of the Okavango Delta, where water draws the maps and land is just a brief pause, African wild dogs have carved out a different way of survival. Not powerful like lions, not stealthy like leopards, they win through connection. Each individual in the pack is a link in a hunting machine programmed with intelligence, relentless speed, and flawless teamwork. No one fights for dominance. No one is left behind. The success of the pack is the key to survival for each member, and it's this social model that enables them to achieve a staggering hunt success rate of up to 80%. The biology of African wild dogs reflects their drive for efficiency. They are not large, averaging just 20 to 30 kilograms, but their long legs, deep chests, and proportionally large hearts allow them to run for miles without tiring. Unlike leopards, who rely on short bursts of speed to end a chase within seconds, wild dogs follow a strategy of endurance and pressure, wearing down their prey until it has nowhere left to hide. In the Okavango, life comes with its own unique set of challenges. Unlike lions, who are accustomed to wading through deep waters, wild dogs tend to avoid flooded areas. But the marshlands offer no permanent escape. During the flood season, when much of the delta becomes scattered islands, adaptation becomes necessary. Dry trails turn into hunting paths. Riverbanks become ambush zones. Up ahead, a red lechwe, an antelope species specialized for the wetlands, struggles through the water. Its long hind legs help it move swiftly in swampy terrain, but this time, the water is both friend and foe. The pack of wild dogs splits up, encircling it as if following a pre-drawn strategy. The lechwe sprang out of the water, mud flying in every direction, but just seconds later, a bite to its hind leg brought it to a halt. One wild dog lunged forward, clamping down on its throat, swift, clean, and silent. Everything fell quiet again, except for the soft, wet sounds of a meal unfolding beneath the morning mist. But the wild dog's greatest distinction isn't just how it hunts, it's how it cares. In their social structure, the young are always prioritized. After a successful hunt, the adults feed first to regain strength, but then return to the den and regurgitate food for the pups and for injured or elderly members. There is no clear power struggle like in lion prides, no infighting like in hyena clans. As the remains of the red lechwe dissolve into the watery ground, the wild dogs begin to withdraw. A strange noise rustles behind the reeds. A solitary spotted hyena, a lumbering shadow, creeps forward, drawn by the scent of meat and a trail of blood on the water's surface. A sharp bark cuts through the stillness. Then 2, 3 wild dogs leap up, charging like lightning. The hyena rears back, growling, jaws wide and ready to snap, but it's forced to back into the water to avoid the tightening circle. This is not its turf. Each time it tries to climb the bank, the dogs strike from different angles, nipping at its flanks, its neck, then pulling back before the larger animal can counter. African wild dogs treat their territory not just as a hunting ground, but as the cradle of their young and the glue of their community. A single pack often controls an area of 200 to 1,000 square kilometers, depending on food availability and the presence of rival predators. That territory includes hunting grounds, grasslands, swamps, even small streams. as well as safe havens, burrows, dense thickets, places where pups are born and raised. After each successful hunt, they often drag their kill back toward the heart of that land, a way to feed the family and reinforce the ties that hold the pack together. The surface of the Okavango swamp slowly settles after the chaos. The final ripples fade, leaving only the scent of mud and a thin sheen of blood shimmering in the sunlight. A sudden splash breaks the silence. Overhead, a broad pair of wings cuts across the sky. It's the African fish eagle, the undisputed monarch of the wetlands' skies. In the Okavango Delta, the African fish eagle is no rare sight. Along river branches like the Boro and Showdown, nesting pairs space themselves just 400 to 500 meters apart, a remarkably high density for a top-tier raptor. Perched atop tall, bare branches in the early morning light, their amber eyes scan the still waters below, tuned to detect even the slightest movement. With vision capable of spotting prey from over 1 kilometer away, the African fish eagle doesn't need to skim low like other hunters. When it spots its target, it dives on a sharp diagonal, wings extended to their full 2.2-meter span, talons ready to strike with perfect timing. Its feet are equipped with tiny barbed ridges called spicules, which help grip slippery fish like barbel, tilapia, and tigerfish. Suddenly, its great wings fold. The eagle plummets like an arrow shot from the sky. Its descent can reach speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour, and in a split second, water erupts like a miniature explosion. Two curved, razor-sharp talons clamp down on a fish nearly 2 kilograms in weight, lifting it from the water before the ripples can even close behind it. When food is scarce, the African fish eagle doesn't hesitate to borrow from others' efforts. It's well known for kleptoparasitism, the act of stealing prey from other birds, such as the Goliath heron or the saddle-billed stork. A swift dive, a sharp scream, talons outstretched, and the fish held in another bird's beak quickly changes ownership without a fight. Though ungraceful by human standards, this behavior is remarkably efficient in conserving energy. The African fish eagle isn't bound only to the quiet waters of the Okavango. Its broad wings carry it farther, soaring over glittering lakes, along rivers that wind like lifelines across the continent. And as that journey stretches northward, it reaches a river that has nurtured ancient civilizations, where this bird became a timeless symbol, the Nile. This river flows like a ribbon of jade, carving a lifeline through the heart of the parched Sahara Desert. The Great Migration remains one of the most enduring biological phenomena on Earth, with an estimated 1.3 to 1.5 million blue wildebeest, along with hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, migrating each year across the Serengeti and Maasai Mara. However, growing pressures from human activity and climate change are posing serious long-term challenges. The greatest threat once came from the proposed Serengeti Highway project, which was cancelled in 2011. Even so, new development proposals, land conversion, and livestock expansion continue to pose risks of habitat fragmentation. The Mara River, the lifeline of the migration, is now facing seasonal droughts and overuse upstream, causing a noticeable decline in flow during the dry season. In Kenya, natural grasslands in the Maasai Mara are shrinking due to tourism development and agricultural expansion. While community conservancies like Naboisho and Olare are helping to restore ecological corridors, the conflict between conservation efforts and indigenous land rights remains unresolved. Though not yet at crisis level, the Great Migration faces an uncertain future without sustainable management strategies that balance human interests with the needs of nature. But this is not just a story about wildlife. It's also a story of communities, technology, and a long-term commitment to sustainable science. In Kenya, over 24 community conservancies have been established around the Maasai Mara, with 5 new ones added since 2024. Together, they protect more than 14,000 hectares of forest and grassland through sustainable land leasing models. Soft boundaries between farmland and wild grasslands are now shaped by buffer zones, ranging from 5 to 9 kilometers wide. Carefully planned strips of land that help reduce agricultural and transportation pressure by up to 54%. Near the Mara River, upstream reforestation projects in the Mau catchment are helping to stabilize water flow during the dry season, reducing the risk of hundreds of thousands of wildebeest being stranded when the river runs low. At Enarau Conservancy, more than 130 hectares of land have been restored with native vegetation, creating new habitats for birds and small antelope species. When each leap of nature is supported by science and collective will, the migration journey stands a better chance of remaining whole for the generations to come. The future of the wild plains of the Serengeti, the flow of the Mara River, and the Great Migration itself rests in our hands. Every small action, from choosing eco-friendly travel and supporting conservation programs to spreading awareness about biodiversity, helps safeguard life. Let's protect these wild harmonies for today and for all the tomorrows to come. And if you've had the chance to visit the Serengeti or Maasai Mara reserves and witnessed the wildebeest herds thundering across the plains like mighty armies, don't hesitate to share your knowledge and experiences in the comments below. Your stories can be a source of inspiration and encouragement for efforts to protect wildlife and preserve the delicate balance of nature for generations to come. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you can join us on more amazing adventures ahead. You can also continue following the survival journeys of wildlife in other regions through Wild Serengeti.